Hello, my name's John Ennis, curator producer at Journeys in Design. Welcome to Salvage Scotland 2020, exploring art, design and industry on and of the coast with a focus on sustainability and community. This is our second week, in our second week of our voyage, and we have developed something of a material focus on seaweed, the world's most ubiquitous plant. Many forms, more than 600 species in the UK. It grows about a metre a month purely by photosynthesis, and so therefore it's a CO2 sequester. In fact, so effective is it that if 17% of the ocean surface was covered in seaweed, the planet would be in CO2 deficit. So it's a fascinating, undoubtedly fascinating potential substrate when we think about sustainable designs and materiality. So therefore, it's wonderful to welcome on board self-styled seaweed girl, artist and designer, Jasmine Linington. Jasmine, hi.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on board to speak with us. We're actually both in Edinburgh, which is unusual because I've been speaking across the miles to people on distant shores. And we first met in Edinburgh's port at a wonderful creative hub, creative set of spaces called Custom Lane, just by the water of Leith and the shore. A real creative hub. And you were part of a group show, is that right?
Yes, that is right. It was for Fashion Revolution Week. There was a group of 5 of us who did an exhibition at Custom Lane, and we all work in a sustainable, slow fashion or textile way. So, yeah.
And that's a big movement. So it was wonderful, I guess, to be part of what's essentially an international movement, and the textile industry having been really a polluter with no better term, and a real contributor to landfill, is very much taking that on board and to heart. And there's some extraordinarily positive movements happening, and Fashion Revolution is a wonderful part of that. So we're talking about coasts, we're talking about materials and seaweed in particular, and you've had something of a coastal progress in your life and a developing relationship with material, with seaweed. Started off on the south coast of England, is that right? You grew up there?
Yeah, I grew up in Kent, near Sandwich and Deal, for most of my life until I moved to Edinburgh. Yeah.
With holidays in other parts of that?
Yes, so I have family in Cornwall, North Cornwall, and now since moving to Edinburgh, my parents have now moved to Cornwall, so I get to go there a lot.
Oh, wonderful! In fact, you're just back from that part of the world.
Just back, yes, after a very long 10-hour drive. So
a 10-hour drive, so that's commitment. But it's after 10 weeks and more of not being able to travel much. So I think we're all very grateful. I took a trip up north myself to the Highlands, and it was really a wonderful just to be in a different space and stretch my legs and everything.
Change of scene. It was good timing.
Great. And so there we go, south coast of England, the beaches around Devon, and it was at that time, in your teens then, that you started to explore your interests in textiles and in making, I guess.
Yeah. So
how did that progress? Yeah.
Like 15 years of age, my art teacher put me in front of the sewing machine, and ever since then I've never looked back. By a sewing machine and things, which I still have, and I ended up doing a foundation course at a college in Canterbury in Kent, which then led me to Edinburgh College of Art to do an undergraduate degree in textiles.
Wonderful. So a good school, and obviously we both think it's a beautiful city, a very inspiring place in many ways, and never far from the coast. I'm 30 years in Scotland, but originally from Ireland. We're never more than 50 kilometres from the coast in Ireland, and it can't be too much different. I think in the British Isles, you're no more than 70 miles at any point from a coast. So there you are in Edinburgh, undergraduate textiles, working away, and I guess that the way of undergraduate art courses, the best will let you explore techniques and materials. And was seaweed part of that at all?
Yeah, so it wasn't until my final year of my undergraduate degree where we had to come back to a project. I think it was a materials project, I'm pretty sure. And as I was thinking of what materials I would be working with, I happened to be walking along the beach near home, and I looked down, and then I suddenly started to see seaweed in a very different way to how I'd used to see it, which was a little bit, I was scared of it, I have to say. Swimming in the sea tickled me and was slimy, and it kind of, ugh. But then looking down at it as a material, became very quickly fascinated by the colours, the textures, the compositions, just, yeah, how it all worked together.
Oh, interesting. So quite a sort of moment then of change. But I know what you mean. Yeah, I know what you mean as well. There's that. It is in some ways almost repulsive, and I like the way you use the word scared of it. I mean, some of these seaweeds are like light. You know, they're really big, feathery kind of limb-like creatures, as well as the more I suppose pretty versions that might see so closer to the shoreline. So that was quite a denouement, and you then involved or incorporated that in your last year of textiles. And what did you do with it, or what was your approach then?
I was looking at seaweed more as my visual inspiration. However, I did try to use it as a material, which I needed much more time to explore it. It wasn't finished well enough and wasn't very durable. So,
okay. It was an early meeting with it as a material, or an inspiration from the visual point of view. So one of us, I think, froze for a little bit there. My internet connection isn't as strong as it might be, so we'll just keep an eye.
Frozen a smile.
Well, I think we both did. So, okay, so, and then it was time for a little exploration away from your undergraduate city, and you were, was it London you went down? Yeah.
Yeah, I went to London. I travelled a bit, and I was in London for a year, and then during that time I thought it was best I came back to Edinburgh and explored seaweed more.
Great, and it really was a motivation then to think, well, how do I get to understand this more?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I had 2 years. I did a Master of Fine Art in Textiles at Edinburgh College of Art, which was, I mean, it went so quickly. I was wondering whether to do a year or 2, and I'm so glad I went for 2 years.
Interesting.
And I went back with the focus of seaweed being the material I was going to explore, and how I could incorporate it into my work as a material that was beautiful and timeless and appealing to people. So I looked at it as a natural dye, as well as I love embellishment. I love texture, so I wanted to see if I could make sequins and beads from the material, which I've done, and I really love them, and I love working with them. And then I construct my own fabrics as well using embroidery techniques, and I use a fibre called SeaCell, which is a cellulose fibre, using a mix of eucalyptus and seaweed cellulose.
Wow, how wonderful. I hadn't been sure of that background, but so this is real embodiment of a commitment to materiality, and you've given it a name, Seaweed Girl.
I'm sure lots of people use that name as well, but I am one of those seaweed girls. Yeah.
Fantastic. And to explore that.
Yeah, but everyone. I smelt the seaweed in the studio at ECA, so I was given the name of the Seaweed Girl.
I love it. That's a very literal nickname, isn't it? That smelly studio, Seaweed Girl. I love it. So look, congratulations. You've had wonderful coverage. First of all, your website's very useful, and you've had wonderful coverage. Everything from Country Homes to Craft magazine, the sort of foremost magazine for craft and design for makers in the UK. And designer, maker, and artist, all three in slightly different strands, as discussed on your website. And you've been exploring product. And so thanks for mentioning the incredible textiles. I think we've got a hint of them around about you in your studio there. And embellishments. And am I right in saying you're wearing some?
Yeah, I'm wearing some, they're called my kelp cluster earrings. They're made with my kelp sequins, which are foraged from or hand harvested from the southeast coast of Scotland.
Wonderful. So do you go yourself and just...
I have a scale seaweed harvesting license, so I can go and have a limit of how much I can harvest, and I can just go along when I please and know I'm doing it sustainably and correctly. And yeah, it's great. I love it.
Wonderful. So we've got embellishments. You've mentioned the SeaCell fibers. How interesting, the eucalyptus and seaweed combined, and you're producing fabric samples and some product of that, including, I think, is it a cushion range?
So I'm working on a cushion range, which I'll be launching alongside some artwork pieces, which will be using my sequins and beads. And I'm planning on launching that later on in the year. And these will be available on my website as made-to-order items. And you can kind of pick what size you want. And yeah, it's kind of, you can build your own and work along with me to make something that's special for you.
Wonderful. So those are commissioned pieces. And in fact, I know that we've all had our own experience of lockdown, and it's been a creative block for some people. It's been a spur into action for some people. You don't sound like you've been sitting about doing nothing.
I haven't, no, other than the car parks being locked by the beach that I harvest seaweed, so I couldn't go to the beach.
Oh, I see, right.
I had stock, or enough stock, to do some commissions I was working on during lockdown, so that kept me busy. These were wall hangings and a triptych, a framed triptych as well. So enjoyable, and it kind of made me pause as well. So it's a slow process, so I had a lot of reflection time, and I think it was good for me this period.
Great. I think there is that sense of reflection and prioritizing and just pace being enforced and useful at times as well. So listen, congratulations. Thank you so much for talking today. I have the exciting journey to make over to yours in Edinburgh. We're not too far away, a couple of miles away from each other, to pick up a special piece to exhibit in the Salvage Scotland 2020 exhibition. We'll say nothing more now, but I'll be very excited to reveal that towards the end of the voyage. Jasmine, thank you very much, and good luck, and we'll keep in touch and look forward to hearing more.
Thank you very much. Bye.